the rise of the Satanists is kind of fascinating. I'm not saying there's Satanists around every corner, that the Satanists are hiding under bed, anything like that. But one of the things that has happened in our post-God culture is that Satan...
We are not in a post-God culture. This is the exact thing that happened in the 1980s with the Satanic Panic. And it's what's happening now with the Trans Panic. We're watching it play out in front of our eyes. Again, I mean, I wasn't around for the Satanic Panic, but, you know, I saw the aftermath in my family. My family was deeply affected by it before I was born. And it was basically fear-mongering that Satanists were around every single corner. At the time, in like 1983, there was a daycare where basically a kid accused somebody of touching them. I don't even know what that meant exactly. In the end, we found that basically everybody was innocent, to my knowledge, in this daycare. Like, nobody did anything. It was just a misunderstanding. But this kid says that, you know, but this parent comes over to the police and tells them, like, this kid accuses daycare of whatever. So the police go over there and they interview every single kid in the school and they say, did blah touch you? Now, if you ask a leading question like that to a 4-year-old, 13% are going to say yes, even when it didn't happen. And when asked to expand upon what happened, they said wild things like, they put a saddle on my back and rode me around the room like a horse. They were floating in midair. I mean, it was just really odd stuff. And instead of the police saying to themselves, you know, maybe we did this wrong. Maybe it was our fault. Maybe we were the idiots here. Instead of them saying that, naturally, they said, believe them. Believe them. Somebody was floating above the floor. They were levitating. Believe them. It was Satanists. Everybody in that daycare had basically it was placed under a microscope. And I think the daycare shut down and the owners went to jail, I believe. It was all fake. It was all made up. McMartin Preschool. Is that the one? I can never remember. McCarthy or McMartin, I thought. After that, everything in society fell apart. Like, there were accusations of Satanists around every corner, and Republicans were debating on TV. Should Satanists be allowed to be daycare workers? If somebody is a Satanist, should they be allowed to be a teacher? Now, how many daycares have Satanists that work there? Or how many teachers have Satanists when they're almost none? Like 5 in the country? But they turned it into a big thing. And they claimed it was millions. Millions of children are affected by this every day. They're around every corner. They're trying to get you. It's a social contagion that spreads from one person to the next. It is exactly what we are seeing. It's the exact strategy that was used in the 80s and is being used now. And honestly, it was used in Germany also. The Nazi movement was all wrapped up in their heads that there were Jews at all levels in the church, that there were Jews who converted to Christianity, but they believe that Jews are, like, by their nature, like, deceitful and bad. They cannot be good, so converting out of Judaism doesn't work because it's a race thing. Anyway, they claimed that there were Jews everywhere, that half of the Christian church was made up of non-Aryans, quote unquote. And when they actually ran the numbers, they found that it affected almost nobody. They had already passed the Aryan paragraph, which prevented non-Aryans or Jews or whatever from being involved in, like, ministry, like the church business in any way. And they were in the process of splitting them up and making them have their own congregations completely. And they decided to go after the musicians next. It says, as Songen later wrote, there was no serious practical threat to church music work for the very reason that the number of non-Aryans employed as church musicians was minimal. 18,000 pastors in the evangelical church at the time, right? It says, the church chancellery jubilantly informed the Reich Chamber of Music that only 19 Jews and half-Jews in all, among the 10,000 Jewish musicians in Germany, were active in the area of church music or of organ performance. These 19 musicians included 12 full Jews, 1 Jew with 3 Jewish grandparents, and 6 half-Jews. Of the 12 full Jews, 9 were not employed by the evangelical church. About half of them had been active as organists, choir directors, or cantors in synagogues. The 10th full Jew lived in Switzerland, and it was fairly certain that he's not been employed by a Protestant congregation. So 2 full Jews remain who served Protestant congregations in 1933. The point is that the people we're talking about, Rocky, Malloy, and others, they're trying to fearmonger about people and wedge themselves in just a little bit, trying to claim that like there's an epidemic of Christian hate or of trans people or whatever, and they need to find a solution to it. His solution? Put chaplains in schools. This is just one little wedge. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Back in 1983, they did all that with the children. Today, Matt Walsh says
barely exist anymore because they've all become transgender. They've all this is what they do now. There are a lot of people, doctors who got into the medical field and they did a certain thing, and then the transgender stuff came along, and that's what they do. Well, it's the same for a lot of plastic surgeons. That this is basically their whole business now, is doing the gender surgeries.
So he's implying that it's a money-making machine, that people are getting rich off of trans surgeries. This is what I'm talking about. How many people are affected by this? Like none. How many people were trying to be teachers and were also Satanists? Like none. And in Germany, they were trying to remove church musicians that had any kind of Jewish like background or like affiliation or whatever. Out of 10,000 church musicians, they basically found 19 that were either half Jewish or quarter Jewish or whatever. Only 4 were employed in the service of a Protestant congregation in 1933. And 2 of them left office. So this affects like nobody, but there's a panic over it.
And so you see the incentive for them. I mean, they have staked everything on this. They've also staked their professional reputation.
They're talking about doctors that are giving trans surgeries, really.
Because that's the other problem. Not only is it the political incentive and the money, but if they admit that they're wrong, then they're also admitting that they have horribly disfigured and abused thousands, maybe millions of kids.
How many was that? I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Then they're also admitting that they have horribly disfigured and abused thousands, maybe millions of kids.
Millions of kids. No need to wonder if that's true. Joe Rogan is about to fact check him.
How many people have had this done?
Depends on what. I don't think we have exact numbers, but if we're talking.
No, we do. We do have exact numbers, actually.
Talking about the drugs, millions.
You're talking about hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Okay, so he started with doctors giving children trans-affirming surgery. And now he's backed it up to doctors treating trans children with like HRT or hormone blockers or whatever. So we're already moving backward. Okay, go on.
Millions.
You're talking about hormone blockers.
Yeah.
Millions of kids have been on hormone blockers? Really?
I'm sure someone's going to fact check me on it, but my guess is that we're into the millions now at this.
Dude made a full documentary on this subject. Has no fucking idea how many people are affected by it.
This point, yeah, that would be my guess. I can say for double mastectomies, I read a report recently that there were over 1,000 done between 2016 and 2019.
Oh, 1,000 done. How about that? Yeah, that's breast removal or reduction, I think. But, that happens for reasons other than, because somebody is trans. There are all kinds of things that could cause something like that to happen. And either way, we're not talking children. We're talking teenagers. When he says children, the thing that pops in your head automatically is like 6-year-old. 6-year-olds don't have breasts to cut off.
And when you compare that to how many were done between, 2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase.
Yeah, 10,000% increase. Do you know that there was like a 10,000% increase in church musicians in Germany who were non-Aryan? It went from 4 to 19. That's like what is that? Like a 400% jump. There's something going on, guys. We got to do something about this. That is the level of dumb as dog that we're dealing with. Between 2008 and 2015, it was fewer than 1,000. And now it's more than 1,000 in his mind. I don't even know. I don't think that's even true. And he's losing his shit over it.
2008 and 2015, it's a massive increase. And over 1,000 girls had gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you
no,
girls, you're
and you know what? Even if it is, he started with millions. Okay, he started with millions. And backed down to certainly thousands, certainly 1,000. I think 1,000 maybe. Oh, and by the way, is he talking about people that have nose jobs as like literal children, like 10 years old? Talking about those? Because there were 33,000 of those, I think between 2018 and 2022. I don't remember. I looked the statistic up recently. Lots and lots and lots of nose jobs. Does he care? No, he doesn't care. That one's gender affirming too, or it can be.
Gender affirming double mastectomies in that time frame.
And when you say girls, you're talking about prepubescent?
Right. Minors.
No. Are you kidding me? He said double mastectomy, removing breasts from a woman, happened to thousands of girls under prepubescent. Really? How does anybody buy this? How does anybody believe this? This is what I'm talking about. Blowing this problem out of the water. Like it's this massive thing. Come to find out, there were only really 4 non-Aryan musicians in Germany. There were really only like under 1,000 kids or under 18 people that had any kind of treatment whatsoever for trans stuff.
And that's just up until 2019. And then we know that there's been this exponential increase with all this stuff year over year. So it's a lot. It's too many. Having this happen to one kid is way too many. It's a lot more than one.
Yeah.
Having more than one church organist who is non-Aryan is too many, the Germans said. One is too many. Who f***ing cares? Really, who f***ing cares? Why is it any of your business? It's not. He is tangibly making people's lives more difficult. And falling into the exact same pattern that happened under the Satanic Panic, and the exact same pattern that happened in Germany in the 30s. The same moral panics.
Look, if you're an adult and you want to do that, and you understand who you are and what you are, and this is how you feel you should progress, you're an adult. This is a free country. You should
Matt Walsh doesn't believe that, see.
be able to do whatever you want. But when you're talking about doing that to children, the fact that so many people are on board, and so many people are angry.
Brother, nobody is on board with this. Nobody is angry about it or whatever. But like in Germany, they were probably saying at the time, this isn't a problem. This isn't happening. What are you talking about? There are not Jews in every part of like society and higher society. Like they're not running the media and the banking system. They're not like dictating doctrine in the churches. This is not happening, okay? Sure, yes. If there was a cabal of evil people that controlled society at the very top, and they were all of one ethnicity, and they were all evil and trying to hurt people, yeah, that'd be bad. Okay. The reason people are fighting this is because it's bullshit. It's all bullshit. I reject the premise completely. I'm not going to say this is good or bad. I'm not going to feed into it. I'm not going to play into it. It was nonsense in the 90s under the Satanic Panic. It was nonsense in the 30s under the moral panic at the time, and it's nonsense now.
If you have, like, people are going to be angry at us that we're having these conversations.
Yeah, because it's a f***ing stupid conversation.
Yeah, they will be. And I also, I actually think that that.
Oh boy, you see, the screen turned white. Joe Rogan, the screen turned white behind him. That means Jamie pulled up the numbers. You ready for the numbers?
That this shouldn't be happening to.
It's a very small number, if that's right.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers.
Oh boy, wow, that's a far cry from millions who have had trans-affirming surgery, isn't it?
And had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
This says it's kind of undercounted, but that's
That would be a big
less than
undercounting.
1,000 people a year.
Yeah.
That's a big undercount, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
Almost like he was completely full of from day one, huh? Almost like he has no idea what he's talking about. Almost like he made a whole documentary on this subject, What is a Woman, and had no fucking clue what any of the statistics were around this subject or anything at all. Almost like he was just going to random people and trying to get like clickbait moments from them by saying, what is a woman? You know what I would say if asked, what is a woman by Matt Walsh? Like I'm standing there with him and he says, what is a woman? I'd say, I'm not going to feed into this ridiculous bullshit. And he would take that clip of me saying that and he'd say, they refuse to define woman. They won't tell us what a woman is. It's propaganda.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would guess hundreds of thousands.
Okay, well, you're wrong.
But I could be wrong.
You could be.
Million sounds great.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Aren't you fighting this?
The Media Matters will have fun with that clip.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh claims it was.
Yeah, it's because it's dumb as dog. Again, it's dumb as dog, okay?
Stop it. Get some help.
Really, the point that I want to drive home is that this is a moral panic. It's been a moral panic since day one. Exact same as the Salem witch trials, even. Same as the claim that there's a secret cabal of Jews running Germany. Same as the satanic panic. We're dealing with it today. And why? Because it's easy to create a scenario that everybody can agree is wrong and point fingers at people and get people on board. It's like the bumper sticker, kill your local person who takes advantage of children. It's a demographic of people that everybody wants dead or doesn't want in society otherwise. And right-wingers are trying to normalize violence as a solution so that they can then expand the definition out a little bit to be, well, maybe like gay people take advantage of children. I just know it. I'm sure of it. Or trans people are trying to indoctrinate their children. That definitely fits, right? The solutions that they propose are expanded to apply to an ever-increasing list of people. Like the Don't Say Gay bill is another example. It started out, it was applying to only elementary schools. And then once they got it in the door, they expanded it to be middle and high schools. Start small and work your way up. That's how these moral panics start. That's how they explode. And that's how they continue. Black people marrying white women is another moral panic that happened. They're trying to muddy our blood. They're trying to get one over on the white man by marrying their daughters and stuff. Moral panic. It's bull. Clipped again. Right. Anyway, it's all bull all the way down. Always was.